Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. We are so glad that you're joining us for the next few moments together. In this particular series, we're calling it Emotionality. We've been taking the sermons on Sunday morning and inviting a group in to have discussions around those sermons on Wednesday night. Okay. This last week in our Emotionality series, we talked specifically about the issue of sadness, and so I'm going to turn it on these guys and ask them to weigh in. You ever been depressed?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Everybody here's been depressed?
Yes.
Not like pre-Jesus.
Oh, so you haven't been depressed since you've been with Jesus?
Oh, post-Jesus.
Post-Jesus,
Yeah, you had some post-Jesus depression?
Post-Jesus depression.
Okay.
Yeah.
Post-Jesus.
Post-Jesus.
I can't remember.
PJ.
Clinically, I take 300 milligrams of Wellbutrin, yes.
Okay, so he's got a clinical diagnosis. Anybody else had a clinical
I
diagnosis?
did, but I stopped.
No,
You
no
stopped?
clinical.
You
Yeah.
did? You just didn't
You
believe
just
him?
stopped. You started
I-
being awesome.
No, I just,
Just
it
decided
made
to
me,
Be awesome instead.
it just made me too, my wife said like a robot. I was just like,
No,
That wasn't me.
I take it back. I've had moments of
Yeah.
sadness, but not like crippling sadness.
Okay.
There's been like moments where I'm sad or something like I'm like, oh man, that's like a bummer.
Okay.
Or something, but not like.
But a season, yeah, it had a season where
it's
you...
not even a season. It's like
Okay.
moments that I'm like, oh
You've
man.
had momentary...
It'll
but
flash.
You've had more of a
Just
season.
flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had more of a season? How about you?
I've had a season.
You had a season? You've had a season?
Couple.
I've had a couple seasons.
Couple seasons of sadness. Okay, so let's... Good.
Hey, you're pretty good.
This is the thing that I brought up Sunday, and I want you guys to weigh in on this. Look at this passage with me, John 15:11. I have told you these things so that you can have the same joy that I have, and so that your joy will be fullest possible joy. So Jesus is saying, I want you to have the joy. I'm giving you the joy. I'm leaving you this joy. I want you to have this joy. But he's telling it to a bunch of guys in a kind of a closed door setting that will all go through some horrific events in the next few years. So he's telling them, hey, I want you to have joy. And he full on knows that they're going to, most of them are going to die martyrs. Most of them are going to go through persecution and torture and displacement and all of these things that are going to happen in their life. It's interesting that he promises them joy, and he tells them that he wants them to have this fullest sense of joy. How does that sit with you, the idea that you can be in a broken world, have broken things happen to you, have circumstances that feel overwhelming, and still have joy? Is that true for you? Have you grown to know that? Are you still working on that? What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I know that.
yeah.
Yeah, happiness and sadness is fleeting. From moment to moment, you can feel happiness and sadness. The joy is the thing that anchors you, and it's like, well, no matter what, yes. I mean, there's this joy that comes. It's supernatural. It doesn't come from what just happened or what's going to happen or like somebody cut me off in traffic. That doesn't affect or shouldn't affect your joy, because that's coming from God, and that's rooted within you. And
Yeah.
if that's there, then yeah, you should be able to withstand the happiness and the undulation,
lows,
the ebb and the
yeah.
flow of happiness and sadness.
Okay.
Depression is something else, because then you get into all of this other pattern.
Do you think wait a minute,
I
hold on,
still
hold on.
have that joy within
Do you
me.
think it's something else? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean that it's something
A
else?
season of depression?
Yeah.
I think it's something else, because I still have that joy within me.
Yeah, but why
I
do
just had
you
such-
use the words that it's something else?
Because going through a season of depression is not like
It highs and lows.
it's not
It's
like
low
a
and
happy
lower.
sad. It's this.
It's like low and lower.
It's this kind of like
At least
chronic
for-
low
Right.
that it's like, all right, for whatever reason that's happened, and then at some point hopefully you'll get through. But I'm sure some people go through depression and just completely knocks them on their butt, and they have no, maybe they do lose that sense of joy or whatever. That if anything, that's my light at the end of the tunnel. I still have that. Doesn't change the fact that I'm going through a season of, that I need
Hardship.
help.
So when you say
get
when you
through,
say
you
it's a
know?
different thing, you're really just talking about the level of intensity.
Right.
Okay.
Because again, I mean, we all go through happy, sad moments. I mean, just because we have a sad or a bad moment today doesn't mean it's like, oh my God, that knocked me off kilter.
Yeah.
No, you should be all right.
Yeah.
It just happens. It's day to day. We're human beings. We live in a new perfect world, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just say, wait,
Joy is what anchors you.
I've had seasons that have been like really, really, really tough. It's just, I get sad about it, and then I try to like process what's happening or what's happened, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to change this. There's only so much, I'm not gonna be able to change it. Like, I'm not gonna
Can we
dwell on
pause there
that.
for a moment? 'Cause I think that's a powerful thing. Have you ever been in one of those situations where it would be hard for me to come up with like a description? I'll say it's a health issue,
Yeah.
or say it's a financial issue,
Yeah.
or say it's a business issue, work issue, or here at the church we go through a lot of issues where I'm trying to manage certain components, like say, like we just left the staff meeting where we were talking about putting in new portable units here at the church, and some of the things that are outside of my control. I want to control them. I want to control the timeline. I want to control, how these things happen. But there are certain things that there are contractors involved, or there are subs involved, or there are cities involved, that it's just literally outside of my control. And no matter how much I worry about it, no matter how much I get concerned about it, lose sleep over it, work at it, but it's just not in my control. And at some point, there's always this one point where like, I'm so like overwhelmed with it that I literally have to say out loud to myself, I cannot do this. There's nothing I can do. I've done everything that I know to do and could do. I've called in all the favors. I've done all the work. I'm just going to have to accept this is where we're at right now for the moment. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the way that I process things now that I'm older is things in the past, not that I don't dwell on them.
Okay.
I reflect on them enough not to let them happen again and to learn from them. But at the same time, I'm like, I already made that mistake and I hurt over it.
Okay.
And, I know that I disappointed God and I'm never going to let that happen again. Or I'll try my best, but to sit on it, dwelling on it, and continue the suffering on it, it's not going to change that mistake. And I'm like, how does that help me moving forward? So
Good point. I just find myself going back to that same cycle, and it takes so long to get to that point of like, okay, there's nothing you can do. Like, I probably should have had that all the way through, a little bit of that humility all the way through, like, hey, I can only do so much. Let's keep working at this. But
this
it's
is
fine.
human
Even
nature.
having gone
But
through it
that's-
before.
Yeah, even
but
done
you
it
still
before.
have
I
to
do it
like
again. I
you
do it
do.
That's-
Think
that's
about it
human
from this
nature,
point
I
of view,
think,
right?
though, Mike.
So if the problem has a solution, then you shouldn't stress over it. It has a solution. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't have a solution, and you're stressing over it. Like either way, it either has a solution or it doesn't. And for you to be dwelling over it and dragging yourself over, it doesn't.
Too much stress, too much anxiety, too much sadness, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Okay. What were you going to say? Oh, you forgot.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I just want to say, just from my point
Yeah.
of view, having dealt with, prescriptions from a doctor, depression medicine, self-medicating, years of fighting with active addiction, until I gave my life and my control and all control of things over to God, like literally, like, sometimes we say, yeah, God, take the wheel, right, or do this, Jesus, take the wheel, but we really don't mean it. Like, when I was able to not impose my will in situations, like, I found true joy. I found that I didn't need the medication. I didn't need the drugs. I didn't need to worry about the things that I have no control over. And I know this sounds really insane, but for me, it's like the proof is there. God is there. Because for the past year and a half that I've been giving my will to God, 1,000,000%, I have no control of my life. I am a vessel for Him. The situations that I normally, my sick mind, broken mind that wants to control and bend and force my will, I just sit back, and instead of getting in the eye of the storm, I let Him do what He needs to do, and I sleep on it. And you know what? The things that I don't impose my will on just happen naturally, and it's like a peace, and that's the joy for me. The joy that I have someone that I love, that loves me unconditionally, and that I trust enough, and makes things just happen. And I can't explain it, but ever since I've done that with Christ, like, hey, I died. I had nothing left.
Twice.
Twice.
3 actually.
Three
We'll
times.
get
Oh,
to that
twice.
later.
Forgot about that other one.
Wait a
Well,
second.
the twice that you know about,
So
but-
twice.
Right, but today, like, I feel like I'm a living testament that His grace, His mercy, and His love, because every morning that I open my eyes, it's a blessing. And
Amen.
that's the joy.
Amen.
So no matter what happens, as long as these eyes open and He gives me another chance at the day, I'm going to try to do His will, not mine.
Yeah.
Are there certain things making you, are there certain areas of your life that tend to promote more sadness, more depression for anybody else? What's it for you?
When I don't get it right with my family, when I don't, when I just, sometimes I feel like I always have this excuse that I don't have the time. It's I don't make the time.
Okay.
And I'm learning that now because I have to be able to manage my time with my family.
But things concerning family, that if things are off there, that'll be a point of like
Yeah,
sadness. Okay.
yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I would say relationships.
Relationships are.
That'll
What do you
throw
got?
me off.
I don't know, man. Like I get frustrated. I don't know that I get sad a lot about stuff.
Yeah.
I just tend to get frustrated and overwhelmed.
Okay.
But like that, I'm sad about it. And I can't like it doesn't. I don't know. Maybe I can't. Maybe. I don't know.
He said maybe.
I don't know. I'm trying to think about it. I was like maybe.
Yeah. What's it for you? I mean, is it relationships? Is it work? Is it
I don't even know
performance?
how to
Is
answer
it
that. It's
kids?
complex. It's complex.
It's lots. It's more than one thing.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
It's kind of what we talked about a second ago, when I can't control something that I think I should be able to control.
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
certain
I think
situations
about
or-
like I think it's relationship. Like if things are not great at home with the wife and I
Right.
tend to get like self-destructive and start eating a lot and doing a lot of stuff that are not great for me.
So okay, so well, that's interesting. So your physical manifestation of either the frustration or the sadness or the pain is what? Breyer's ice cream?
Yeah, butter almond, baby.
Mantequilla.
It'll be eating. It'll definitely be eating. Like I think that I like tend to like eat
Okay.
amongst other destructive stuff. You know.
Okay. All right. I mean, okay, that's an interesting. You bring up an interesting point, which is, hey, when you're in either a season or a moment where there's depression or sadness, do you find that it's a lot easier to condone other poor choices
Yes.
or behavior?
Very,
Yep.
very,
Yeah.
very.
It's a
That is
down-
the gateway.
It's
Yep.
a downward
Yeah.
spiral to
Like you're sad, so it's like, well,
Yeah, you're
Why
just
not?
like, hey,
to
who
justify
gives a anything?
Or
Yep.
maybe
Yeah.
it's
You know what I
just
mean?
kind of like this
Self-destruction
will help
too.
me take my mind off the
Yeah.
thing that I'm sad about.
yeah.
But it could be just like, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's so.
justification to do.
I just know it's a very,
Easier,
very dangerous
harmful
place.
yeah.
Dangerous place
Yep.
to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
You know,
can be really.
my uncle, he killed himself because he couldn't take care of that. Matter of fact, I had a couple of relatives who've done that because they couldn't cope, and that depression just got the best of them.
Wow.
So it's something that's very serious, you know what I mean? And something I always kept aware, you know, because one was very young, you know, I wasn't even 10 years old when he went ahead and did that. And another one was like, what, 2016?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2016.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think that there's some aspects that you see that you're like, oh man, like, you know, like I said, like it's and I can't say that it's sadness. I can't describe the feeling, but there's
Okay.
a couple of elements in my life that I'm like, there's nothing that I can do that's gonna change this. Like it's completely out of my control. It's somebody else's decisions, actions, and there's nothing, no matter how much love I put into it, whatever I put into it, it's not gonna change.
Okay.
And I think that I have moments where I'm like, dang it, you know? But they're not, but it's not like a whole day thing.
Right.
Like even throughout the day, I'm normal, I'll laugh, and then I'll have moments that I'm like, this really sucks. And I can't change this because it's up to somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but that's it. Like it doesn't, like when I'm around my kids, like they wouldn't know because I don't feel that like that at that moment.
Okay.
It's just when I'm left alone to my own devices to think about it.
That's another thing too. You could be depressed and nobody knows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, depression is
Even
something,
yourself, apparently.
Depression
Doesn't
is
look
something
the same.
that anybody
Apparently,
could be
even yourself.
like, hey, that guy's depressed. Now, some people, you can't hide it, but there's a lot of people that can go ahead and go through a tough time
Yeah, and say, "I'm
and
okay."
put the smiles on and do whatever in front of the people, but inside they're hurting. You know, we got to keep
Yeah.
mind of that too, because that's real.
Let's go back to the passage real quick, where Jesus is saying, "Hey, I've given you these joy. I've told you about this joy. I've given you this joy. I want you to have this fullest joy." Do you think you can have even seasons of real sadness and still have that joy?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're alive.
Yeah. I think emotions are more of a choice.
I don't care what
For
you're
me,
going
at
through in
least.
life. If you're alive,
So I
Well,
don't
like
know.
Sometimes
you know what I
don't-
mean?
Sometimes
Do
you don't want to be. I've had points in my life where I didn't want to be. Alive.
But
Yeah.
this is the thing though. As long as
Or
you're
seasons.
alive, but as long as you're alive, it could turn around. Because
Right.
once you're dead, it's done.
right. But
So
when
do
you're
you-
wishing every day that
No,
you weren't alive,
no, I
you're not
feel you.
thinking, oh, I can't wait for this to turn around. You're like, no, it's going to turn around when I'm not here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
You start thinking dark thoughts.
Right.
What I guess what I'm
Depression.
saying is it's interesting. You brought up this interesting thing that I think it's connected to this passage, right? Hey, we get into this either moment of sadness or season of sadness. And that opens the door to something sometimes, right? And the door is like whatever coping mechanism in that moment. Sometimes it's deeper, darker places, meaning that we open the door to addiction. We open the door to, bad relational
Infidelity.
behavior, whatever it is, right? Like we're opening the door to bad diet, whatever it is. It could be something minor, it could be something huge.
Yeah.
Or I think what Jesus is saying is, hey, you guys are about to go through some seasons.
Yeah.
But that door could open to deeper faith too. It could open to deeper
Yeah.
joy. You may only learn it in the midst of some of this hardship.
So the
Boom.
reason why I
Boom.
think I can describe it is
Boom.
even though I feel
No,
the way that I feel,
that was
however
it.
that may be, I do have an immense peace through it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like my divorce was not fantastic.
Right.
You know, like not in a bad way because we love each other, we take care of each other. Like there's never been like animosity between us, but it's a painful thing. It's still failure. So it was a sad season, but even through that, you guys saw me every Sunday, and I wasn't faking it. I wasn't lacking peace or joy, and I think the fruits of that is like my relationship with her now. Like we still get along great. Like there was no animosity, nothing like that. But peace is the way that I could describe it. You know,
Beyond all understanding.
yes, absolutely.
Beyond all understanding.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like when
Yeah.
I look at the things I've been through, and I'll be like, I'm taking this pretty
Pretty easy.
good.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And to me, I'm firmly convicted. This is the Holy Spirit
That's
letting me
His
know.
mercy.
Like, hey, you're doing your best.
I got
Leave
you.
me the rest. That's it. That's my motto, actually.
That
Do
joy
your
is the
best.
spark of
Leave
hope.
him the
The
rest.
rest.
That's it. You don't got to worry about nothing else.
Yeah.
I just think for a bunch of guys sitting around talking about this, I think that when you get to a moment or a season, I know this sounds almost cheesy, but it's almost an opportunity. It truly is. It's almost an
To
opportunity
deepen your faith.
to like
Cling on.
galvanize faith, to like truly go, okay, I can either open a door to a like almost a narcissistic kind of self-focused coping mechanism that's short-term pleasure that will ultimately bring deeper problems, or I can open a door to trust here in the midst of what may be a dark season, right? And I think you learn something about yourself, you learn something about your faith in that, you learn something about God in that if you open that door.
So are you saying that it's a choice?
I'm saying at that moment it is a choice.
is.
So I think what he's saying is, hey, my joy's there. You gotta open that door though.
So let me ask you this, because I see the 4 emojis there, right? And
Yeah.
you have happiness, which would probably guess joy, anger, sadness, and love. Would you say that they're pretty much a choice you choose?
Yeah.
I mean, because like example, there's moments that if I choose to love my wife, I love her with everything. There's times where we don't get along, but I'm making a choice not to love her because I found out today that like the way I work things today with God is like even when I'm
I thought you meant like.
I thought he was gonna make a
no, no,
marital
no, no,
confession.
no.
I was like, wait.
like, what happened?
Let me hold on. We're live. Let me finish. Hold on.
Live, baby.
What I mean is like I could choose to be like, you know what, I'm angry for this, but I love her even more. I make
Okay,
that
yeah.
choice. Like I choose joy. Where
No.
I lay in bed and I've had days recently, that I've laid there and I'm like, I can do this for 3 days and just self-wallow in pity and for what? For like I'm alive, I have a beautiful family. Why am I feeling this way? And then I just let me get up, and it's tough,
No.
but I get through it. And then
Yeah.
the next day, I choose to be in a better mood instead of letting it. I don't
No,
know.
I think there's
Nose dive.
definitely
Yeah,
there's definitely
Right.
a self-control, a self-responsibility,
Yeah.
an emotional IQ, emotional control that has to happen. And I think that you're right, Ray, that at some point, if we're really honest about even the moments of sadness, the moments, I said Sunday, I said, look, there's good anger, bad anger. There's good anxiety, bad anxiety. There's
Yeah.
good sadness, there's bad sadness. And I think everybody's going to go through those emotions, but what you press into in those emotions, right? You press into darker stuff, deeper stuff, you know what I'm saying? You press into patterns of brokenness, or you're going to press into faith, you're going to press into trust, you're going to press into joy.
Choose joy.
Yeah, you got to choose some things there, and that's never easy,
No.
right? Like think about it. Most of us are sitting around. Some of us maybe have worse situations than others, but if we sat here and tried to compare, we could come up with the worst. I'm sure,
Yeah,
what do
we
you
all
think-
got a
Yes,
fair
my-
share of
what do you
horror
think she
stories.
would win, right?
Yeah, that's my mantra.
But
Anybody got 3 deaths?
but it's interesting to me, like
Dads?
no 3 deaths. He said it is
deaths.
interesting to me that like even if we tried to play that game, we could always find somebody. That's what I said at the end of the sermon last week. I said,
Somebody
we
else
always
got
find
it
somebody
worse.
worse,
Yeah.
right?
There's always
Like,
somebody worse.
If, you're complaining about your broken foot or your leg or your
your
ingrown
messed up
toenail.
I wish you had a foot.
Somebody's coming in a wheelchair, right?
wheelchair with no
You're
legs.
complaining about your type 2. Somebody's complaining about their stage 3.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
there's always something worse, right? That you
Exactly.
can go, that we can play that game. And there are people here that have gone through, I've looked into their experiences and thought, I'd like to believe I'd be a person of joy in the midst of that.
In the midst
I'm
of
not sure,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because I
And-
doubt
and they
my own.
choose it.
I doubt my frailness of faith, even in the face of in the face of the things they've had to face.
Yeah.
But I think no matter what the level, whether it be what some would deem minor or some would deem major, there are these doors that get opened in those seasons where
Yeah.
you have to open it.
I want to
mean,
go ahead. Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead, please.
No, go ahead.
You said something that always stuck with me for many years, that people with
Like raising,
a deep sense of faith, because we're going to go through brokenness and horrible things in life.
Yeah.
That they mourn differently. And I've
Yeah.
seen people that come to this church go through horrible things, deaths and diseases and things, and losing children, wives, spouses, whatever, and they handle it. Like, I say the same thing. I'm like, if that were me, I'd lose it. And I've noticed that the people that have a strong faith handle those things a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And I've seen people outside of this church that don't even follow Christ, and they've gone on and committed suicide or done worse.
Yeah.
And
For something probably less.
yeah, for something less, right?
Probably
Like
something
somebody
less.
broke up with them.
I just wanted to talk something about Mike said, because I think this is really true. Sometimes, we look at these situations, these dark seasons, these places where we feel weak and short at, and we don't really realize that sometimes God is speaking to us through that. You know what I mean? Sometimes that uncomfortableness, that despair, that sadness, whatever that season is actually what's drawing you closer to God. Because maybe that wouldn't have happened unless that season went place. Now, everybody has a relationship, but maybe he wants you to go deeper. I know he obviously wanted me to go deeper because I went through some stuff. So I'm saying everybody has an opportunity, as he said, to make a choice. Hey, am I going to go ahead and be a person that's going to be self-pitying on myself because of this situation? Or am I going to go ahead, recognize it for what it is, and try to see if maybe I can gain something spiritually from it, because nothing is a coincidence.
No.
There are no coincidences.
Not only that, but
Master Shifu.
it says in Ecclesiastes, there's a season for everything. Everybody's been through a season that they absolutely thought they were not going to get through. They're like, I'm not going to make it. This is it. And here they are.
Yeah.
That's always
Here they are.
that's always giving me hope.
Right.
Here they are.
It's like anytime I get to one of those seasons and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, yeah, I've been there before where I'm like, I'm not going to make it. And here I am. God
Come
got
on.
me through it.
Yeah.
Praise God.
Amen.
Yeah.
That's it.
I agree.
You're still here.
All right, that's about as far as we can go for the night. Listen, I'm praying that if you are listening to this tonight and you're struggling through a season of darkness, season of sadness, season of depression, that you will be focused
Is that,
on opening
the
a
guy
door
that
of
does
joy.
that too?
That joy
Navarro?
is there, I promise you.
know what I'm talking about?
If you're
Eddie
wondering why
Navarro,
everybody's
something like
laughing in the background, it's because Mike keeps throwing up funny pictures on the screen. We will see you Sunday. We'll continue our emotionality series. See you later. Love you.